Right.
I know they're patient.
Right.
Oh, sorry about
No,
that.
it shows me they're hungry than the other guy. And the other guy's local too.
Right.
Don't get from left and right. But I gotta get a number out of him, what they have to come down. No, he says,
Right.
mine takes
How are you?
first.
How's it go?
So what's the true number?
That's not the sport then. Well, you know what?
No, we didn't get, this is the page you want to look at.
Confusing, so break it down in relevance to part we're looking at.
Chance on anything.
Yikes, yikes.
Baby.
Go one day at a time. That's all we can do.
Exactly, exactly.
Healthy and
Healthy,
But
oh, good.
We play out in the field all the time. Play out
tired of being
all the time, and
He just loves it.
LA
Okay.
series. Next week it ends.
Dominic,
And then you'll miss it.
okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here for this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Before we get started, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, so would everybody please rise? Councilman Lupinacci, would you lead us this evening?
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, once again, good evening, everyone, and thank you all at home for watching this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Today's date is Wednesday, February 28th, 2018. Tonight's meeting is a Town Board work session. Prior to coming out here for the public work session, the board met at 6 p.m. in executive session with Joe Charbonneau, Special Legal Counsel. This is regarding a litigation update. Councilman Mike Borelli and Mary Ann Maxwell, the town comptroller, met with the board to discuss a personnel matter. Councilman John Lupinacci, Rich Franzetti, PE, town engineer, and John Falchetti, PE, engineer and consultant, met with the board regarding a contractual matter for O&M, operation and maintenance of water and sewer districts in the town of Carmel. So all board members are present this evening with the exception of Councilwoman McDonough, who's not feeling well this evening and couldn't join us. And Susie, if you're watching, get better soon. With us is Ann Spofford, all the way down to my right. She's our town clerk. All the way down to the left is Greg Fulchetti. He's the Carmel town attorney, town council. And we have Chief Kazari with us tonight as well. He's got one or two items on the agenda, and Lieutenant Dearman is in the back as well. He'll be joining us for an item on here also. So before we get started, we do have a public hearing tonight on a proposed local law enacting Chapter 140 of the Code of the Town of Carmel entitled Towing and Storage. And let me just say, I'm just going to read this. The purpose of this local law is to establish procedures for the licensing of individuals and entities providing towing and storage services to the Town of Carmel Police Department, and to also establish a uniform policy and procedures and fees for the towing and storage services to be provided to the Town of Carmel Police Department. So if an accident occurs on one of our roadways, there is a list of tow companies that would be authorized to remove the vehicles from the accident scene. This would cover any laws that would pertain to the operation of those particular tow companies would have to follow a policy and procedure that is established under this local law, which we currently don't have. It doesn't exist in the town of Carmel. So this is something that's very important that, as far as I'm concerned, should have been created years ago, but I'm glad it's moving forward now, and that we will have a policy and a procedure that everybody will have to adhere to if you would like to be a tow operator for the town of Carmel Police Department. So that's the purpose of this. So,
I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading to open it up for comment. I know that I've heard from a few different people who have some concerns in regards to it, so maybe instead of reading the 11 pages now, we can hear what some of the concerns are and see what we're going to do if there will be any changes and modifications that we'll have to renotice.
Sure, I like that, I agree with that, John.
Second.
Absolutely. Seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. Do we have to do an all in favor for that, Ann? All in favor for the waiving of the reading of the notice of the public hearing?
Yes.
Or aye? we're all in favor, okay. So,
And that's really just for the benefit of everybody here, because 11 pages is going to take a long time to read.
It's 11 pages, and it
And I
would
think
take
that we have
forever.
a few people who have already looked at this, who are ready to make some comment
Mm-hmm.
in regards to some things that they would possibly like to see addressed.
Yeah, okay, I agree, Jonathan, absolutely. And I had received a couple of calls as well from individuals, with concerns. They agree with it, with the policy. and
With the
law,
concept
the
of it,
concept
absolutely.
I totally agree with it, but there's just, a couple of
Devil's in the
issues that-
details, I
that
heard
they
tonight
had.
a couple
Right,
times,
Right.
from John Lupinacci.
You owe me a nickel.
All right, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We do have one individual that signed up ahead of time, John Bryson from Bryson's Towing. John, did you want to come up and speak at this point? Okay. Oh. Sally, do you want to speak on his? No? Okay. All right. Okay. All right, is there anyone, well, we need a motion to open the public hearing, right? Okay, so I need a motion to open.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Councilman Schneider, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, John Bryson's the only one who signed up to speak. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak at this time that did not sign up to speak? Come on up at this time to the podium and address the board. Emerson?
How you doing? My name's Emerson. I'm the owner of Skyline Towing. I think this is a fantastic idea. I agree with Kenny, it should be done a long time ago, to keep everything compliant with all the people in the town, and so people don't get charged more than they should or anything like that. I do have a couple concerns about it. One of the concerns would be the 3-mile radius outside the town. I think the tow companies should be, the only tow companies should be allowed on it are ones that are in the town of Carmel, to keep the business of the town in the town, would be one of my concerns. I do know that all the tow companies now that are on the roster at this time are all now located in the town of Carmel. There's no outsiders at this point anymore. That would be one of my main concerns. The insurance, I would think that the insurance that you guys are saying 1 to 2 is a little too high, because you do have accidents and stuff when you have running a business, and sometimes your insurance, you can't have it that high because it would be too much money. In reference, $50,000 if you want $1 million for some companies that had 1 or 2 accidents. I have proof of that if anybody would like to see it. As far as the rates go, I mean, I think we've always worked well with the rates with Town of Carmel and with the chief and everybody. I think we can definitely come to a good compromise with all that.
Emerson, can you tell us what rates you would see? Because I think that you operate with AAA
Yes.
on a reimbursement. What rates do they require on insurance?
750,000.
Not 750, 1.5 million, it's just 750?
It's 750, 1 occurrence, $1 million.
Okay,
So max occurrence.
and 1 million max.
Max, okay.
Greg, is there any issue with restricting it to operators that are located inside the town?
There is.
Can you go over the legal aspect of that?
The legal aspect of it is that there are appellate cases that prohibit the restriction of the towers within exclusively the geographic boundaries. If you have a reasonable radius, that's fine, and I think that's partly what Chief Kazari was working with here, a 3-mile radius of the borders, and with response time. Some other practical and measurable metrics for a response time for a provider to come respond to an accident or respond to an emergency call. But I wouldn't recommend that you put a geographic limitation that the company be located within the boundaries of the town of Carmel.
Would you say that that 3-mile limit is the minimum threshold that would probably be acceptable? Or is there?
I think that the way that the law was drafted was acceptable with objective criteria for determining an appropriate response time for a call within the town's borders without limiting the providers to the borders, with being within the borders.
Okay.
Okay. Emerson, did you have anything else other than, you mentioned the 3-mile radius, the insurance requirement? Was there anything else?
No, I think
That's in the proposed, you had an opportunity to read the proposed
Yes,
law,
I do.
right?
And like I said, I do agree with everything that you guys are doing, 100%,
Okay.
because, we don't want people getting ripped off.
Right. Yeah,
So,
agreed.
I thank the board for their time and everything you guys are doing. If you just take time to think about what I said, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
All right, thank
All
you
right,
very
great.
much.
Thanks, Emerson.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Appreciate it, thanks. John? Yeah. come on.
25, I was gonna make it, so we can time that, and we can legitimately say.
My name is John Bryson from Bryson's Towing. A couple of the things that, Emmy, what a lot of these tow companies are doing, which I don't agree with, they're making the insurance companies, Copart and IAA, which are the two major, if you have an accident, they pick them up. These tow companies are making them pay cash, and I don't agree with it at all. I mean, I mentioned it to Mike, it's, I just don't see that. I mean, all my prices I've given Kenny. I believe I think I watched the meeting, there was from 8 to 5 was one price, after 5 was another. I think you should leave it as simple as possible. Come up with a number where daytime, nighttime is the same, so there is no, if you do have a problem, I don't believe you should charge mileage. Here again, it's the same thing. You could put any mileage down. You could put 5 miles if you towed it for 2. Leave it as simple as possible. The administration fee, a lot of them have, the insurance companies pay it. The only one that doesn't want to pay it is Allstate. They just, an administration fee, an adjuster may come to my yard. I may have to jump the car to get the mileage for them. I may have to jack it up. I may have to move it for them to get it out. That's an administration. When they call me, I got to give them the prices. So that's just some of the things. And I agree with Emmy. You should be in the town. I tow for a town, and I'm the only exclusive tow company for that town. Other tow companies have tried to get into it, and the chief and the supervisor said, we only want Bryson's. So, Greg, I have to disagree. I talked to you a couple years ago of that. If you're a taxpayer, you should have the exclusive to tow in that town. I don't see, you're the board, you make up the rules, who you want in your town. If you only want taxpayers, that's the way it is. I can't see where anybody can sue you. I may be wrong, but, I agree with Emmy. I think you should be in the town. And that's all I have.
Thank
you.
All right, thanks, John. All right, appreciate it. Okay, Emerson and John, they're both tow operators, obviously, in the town, Bryson's and Skyline Towing. Is there anyone else are there any other tow operators here that are currently towing for the Town of Carmel Police Department that would like to come up and speak? And if there's any members of the public that are here that want to weigh in on this, it's a public hearing, it's for everybody, so. Okay. Chief, did you want to speak a little bit about the proposed ordinance, or?
I just have a question for council. Would those changes, if we did to 750, would that have to be completely redone? Is that a substantive change?
I think anything you're considering modifying on the topics that you're discussing would be substantive, not technical or ministerial change. And I would make the changes, circulate it to the board, and just have a new public hearing. So that, you can never afford too much process before you pass a law, but you can short-circuit it, and I would just make the changes and renotice it and have a new public hearing to be safe.
So we'll discuss the issues with the tow people, and, we'll make some minor changes, but we'll come back to this again. Sorry, Ann, we have to do it again.
She didn't have to read the 11 pages. She'll be all right with it.
Well, I'm going to make it 15 pages and then demand it's read.
Okay.
It's so nice.
Do it the right way.
All right. So, this is going to continue. It's not going to, we're not going to, should we close the public hearing?
Close it.
All right, we're going to close the public hearing because we're going to have to reopen a new public hearing and announce a new public hearing. if these substantive changes are made to the proposed ordinance, so, which it sounds like there's going to be a couple of changes, so.
Yeah.
That are going to require that. All right, so you're going to get together with the tow operators, to meet with them, or whoever's requested to meet with you to discuss the proposed ordinance, and then we'll go from there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you.
All right, so being there's no other members that are here now that would like to speak, we're going to close the public hearing? You want to make a motion? All right, so moved by Councilman Schneider. Second. Seconded by Councilman Lupinacci to close the public hearing. Okay, public hearing's closed, so this, to be continued at a later date, once we come back, after the chief has met with those that who really have an interest in this, which is the tow operators, we'll come back and renotice it, and we'll have another public hearing. Okay? All right, John, Emerson? All right, good, thanks. All right. Okay, so the public hearing is now closed. The first item on the town board work session is a review of the town board minutes of February 14th and 21st of 2018. Unless any town board members have any comment on those minutes, we're going to move on. We're good? All right, number one on the agenda tonight is Mary Ann Maxwell, Town Controller. This is to consider request to authorize encumbrances for the 2017 funds for expenditures in 2018. And Mary Ann's here for number two also, which is to consider request to authorize budget revisions for December 2017. Mary Ann?
Thank you. Good evening. As we're getting ready to have the town audit is going to be in 2 weeks, I'm coming to the board to close out the year with the encumbrances of 2017 and bring them forward to 2018. So in the information technology line, we're looking to carry forward $9,168 for the technology upgrades for the smart TVs. In the data imaging equipment line, we're looking to carry forward $45,000. This is for data imaging equipment. In the contingency line, we're looking to carry forward $94,435 for future software conversion costs. In the police other equipment line, we're looking to carry forward $25,000 for the plate reader cameras and $6,000 for the rifle lights. In the police conference training line, we're looking to carry forward $10,000 for police mandated training. In park special equipment, we're looking to carry forward $65,215 to cover the costs for the remaining parks video surveillance. $24,000 is being carried forward for basketball court recoding at Camarda Park, and $100,000 is being carried forward for future park capital improvements. There's also $50,000 budgeted in that line this year, so there'll be $150,000 for park capital improvements. In the highway fund, we're looking to carry forward $100,000 in machinery and equipment capital expense. And in the Mahopac Falls Fire Department, $56,000 is being carried forward for a dry hydrant installation estimate. There's also $10,000 budgeted this year for that. So these funds here that I just went over are excess in those funds that we're carrying them forward to the following year.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, great. Any questions, comments
on that?
for Mary Ann regarding this item? The encumbrances, expenditures for 2017 that are being encumbered in 2018? No? Okay. All right, Mary Ann, you want to go on to number two then? This is
Sure.
to consider request to authorize budget revisions December 2017?
Yes, these are the budget revisions for December. As I said, the auditors are coming in 2 weeks, so if there are any additional budget revisions, I'll do that before we close the audit. But in the general fund, number one, we're providing for a cleanup of fire extinguisher discharge expense from an insurance claim. That was $2,500. We're providing for a police vehicle engine from an insurance claim. That's $5,968. We're providing for certiorari settlements of $22,000, and that's coming from the reserve for certiorari settlements. In the assessor's department, we're transferring for assessor staff expense. This is, the board appointed a full-timer at the end of December, or the beginning of December, I believe. So we're transferring money into that line. Number 6, we're transferring a total of about $19,000 for legal expenses. $17,500 of that is for certiorari legal expenses. Number 8, we're transferring about $4,500 for miscellaneous police expenses. Number 10, in the general fund, we're transferring miscellaneous recreation expenses within the recreation budget. On page 2, in the highway fund, we're transferring $34,000 for machinery repair expenses. In the Lake Cassie Park District, we're providing for capital expenses from the fund balance in that district, a total cost of $2,600. In Carmel Water District number 3, we're transferring for emergency repairs, a total of about $17,500. We did receive a letter from the insurance company that we're going to be receiving $13,250 to cover that cost. In Carmel Water District number 14, we're transferring $2,000 for emergency repairs. And in Carmel Sewer District number 2, we're transferring $2,000 for utility expense. And the other transfers are minor. Any questions on?
Okay, any questions for Mary Ann on the budget revisions, December 2017?
No.
John? Nope. Mike? No? Okay. Nope, Mary Ann, we're all set.
Okay.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
As always, appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda, number 3, the Lake Cassie Park District Advisory Board. This is to consider request to authorize and distribute their quarterly newsletter. Is there any members of the Lake Cassie Advisory Board here with us this evening? I don't see anyone. Okay. All right, I'll just go over this real quickly. This is their quarterly newsletter that they distribute to all the residents that reside in the Lake Cassie Park District. They actually do a fantastic job laying this out. And every time that they request that we distribute this for them, I make the same comment. They do a terrific job over there in the Lake Cassie Park District. The members are very active, and they must have somebody on their committee that is familiar with laying these newsletters out, because it's getting better and better each time they do it. One of the main topics that they're speaking about in their newsletter is the water quality update. And as a lot of you are aware, there was a problem not only in the town of Carmel and Putnam County, but across the state with blue-green algae blooms. There were quite a few of them in a lot of the smaller lakes and ponds, and the Lake Cassie swim area was closed for most of the 2017 summer season because of these blue-green algae blooms. And they're trying to, they're working with the DEC and the Department of Health to learn more about how the Lake Cassie residents can control the algae blooms. And there was just a seminar up in New Paltz this past week that talks about information regarding the harmful algae blooms and what you can do to control them. And there's quite a bit of information that was learned at these seminars and these conferences that have been attended by the Lake Cassie Park District, and also our engineering department as well attended the Department of Health conference seminar that was held recently up at the George Fisher Middle School. So they're trying to deal with this issue. Hopefully this summer the beaches will be open and they won't have to deal with these algae blooms. But I think there's steps that are being taken and to prevent these algae blooms in the particular ponds or lakes that are susceptible to them. So there speaks a lot about that in this particular newsletter, but it also lists all the upcoming events that are taking place over at the Lake Cassie Park District. They have an Easter egg hunt, there's a family tag sale, there's a paint night, there's bingo, there's a summer kickoff, they have barbecues. So they're very proactive over there, and they offer a lot to the Lake Cassie residents. So, and all of this is paid for out of their district taxes. So it's just the Lake Cassie Park District that whoever benefits from that, they have to pay a percentage of that, whatever the district costs are in their tax bill. So that's it. Any questions or comments regarding the Lake Cassie Quarterly Newsletter? Okay, we'll be taking care of this. We're going to distribute it from here, and any cost for labor and any postage will be paid for the Lake Cassie Park District to cover the cost of this. So, all right, next item on the agenda, number 4, is the Lake Secor Park District Advisory Committee. This is to consider a request to make appointments to the Lake Secor Park District Advisory Committee. So they are adding, there was one resignation. One of the members of the Lake Secor Park District, they moved out of Lake Secor, so they can no longer serve on the Lake Secor Park District. But there is a gentleman named James DeToma who has expressed an interest in serving on the advisory committee, and the Lake Secor Park District is now requesting that the town board add Mr. DeToma to the Lake Secor Park District. Okay? Any questions or comments regarding the new member on the Lake Secor Park District? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda, number 5, Rich Franzetti, PE, Town Engineer. This is to consider request to purchase miscellaneous items. This is for the Lake Cassie Park District. Rich, number 5.
Good evening. The Lake Cassie Advisory Board requested the purchase of tables, chairs, miscellaneous supplies to replace older existing equipment at the Lake Cassie Clubhouse. Quotes were received from Uline at $7,309.75 and Office Max for $8,170, and we recommend that the equipment be purchased from Uline at a cost of $7,309.75. There are sufficient funds in the Lake Cassie Park District budget for this purchase.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments with respect to the Lake Cassie Park District requesting funding to purchase chairs, miscellaneous supplies, et cetera, to replace older equipment at the clubhouse?
Those are two
Jonathan?
bids,
Mike?
Those are 2 bids that came in?
Yeah, these are 2 proposals that they had gotten, that the Lake Cassie Park District went out and gotten prices on from
But I'm saying,
Uline and Office.
as long as they went out and got the bids.
They got it, yeah, they went out and got them, correct, Rich?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
they
supply
obtained
me
the-
that information, and they get that to us.
Yep. All right, okay. All right, next item, Rich, number 6. This is to consider request to authorize payment for emergency repair of the hot water heater here at Town Hall. Rich?
You, in essence, said it, it's being presented to the town board to request payment of the attached emergency repair. The invoice is over the Town of Carmel procurement policy. On February 1st, 2018, Joe Harmon, Building and Grounds Maintenance Supervisor, advised that the hot water heater, which services Town Hall, had stopped working. Joe contacted B&J Plumbing to arrange for a replacement. B&J performed the services, and the amount of their invoice was $6,938. The work was completed on February 6th of 2018. We advise the controller of this expenditure, and there are sufficient funds in the budget for this work.
Okay, Rich, and I just want to, thank you, Rich. I just want to mention that the Town Hall boiler, it's a 50-gallon 480V. It's a 3-phase commercial water heater with domestic hot water recirculating pump, pipe, and fittings. So it's not your typical hot water heater that you would find in residential homes. It's a commercial building. It's a lot larger, and it's a 3-phase, which means it requires more power to operate it. So that drives the cost of these tremendously when you talk about that. So $6,938. Hopefully we'll get another 20 years out of this new one.
That's the intention.
Hoping, yep. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns regarding the hot water heater replacement? No? Okay, next item on the agenda is number 7, Rich Franzetti, PE Town Engineer. Consider request for proposals for the design and development of the water treatment plant for Carmel Water District Number 2. This is a new water treatment plant that we will be building in the near future up in the hamlet of Carmel to treat the water for those residents up in that. We have a relatively old water treatment plant. It's still functioning fine, but it's a diatomaceous earth plant, and they're no longer building those type of plants. They still function okay, and the potable water is good, it's excellent, but the new plant is going to be a state-of-the-art plant, which would be, that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, and Rich is going to go over that. So, Rich, take it away.
Thank you, Supervisor. Based on recent discussions by the town board regarding the Carmel Water District 2 water treatment plant, the engineering department requests authorization to issue requests for proposals to develop a water treatment plant facility plan. The facility plan for the water treatment plants are required by the Great Lakes Upper Mississippi River Board and state and provincial public health and environmental managers, also known as 10 state standards. The purpose of the facility plan is to analyze and determine expansion and upgrade alternatives at Carmel Water District 2 for the treatment plant. The facility will follow the 10 state standards and will include an assessment of existing and future treatment options, budgetary costs, and preliminary schedules to complete. RFPs will be requested from consulting engineering firms identified by the Engineering News Record as the top-rated firms for water treatment design that have local offices. So this is just the first step in moving toward having a water treatment plant upgrade.
Okay. All right, good. John, did you have anything to add, or?
One question on that, Ken.
Yeah, okay, all right.
What's your,
No, nominally, right, you're gonna get requests directed at the top 15 or so firms in the nation who deal with water supply and water treatment plants. And the 10-state standard facility plan is the norm. It's a requirement by the state health department. The state health department will be the reviewing authority, not the county health department, for what this process is going to look like and what will ultimately get approved. We have already reached out to them to determine what the raw water quality assessment requirements are going to look like so that we can set up and frame this request for proposal of a very specific scope of work for those engineers. That's all I got.
you answered my question with that. So you're taking national guys, so when it says that have local offices, you're including like New York City and everything?
Yes, we are. Middletown, is also one that they have some engineering firms that are rated that have offices in Middletown. That's Tetra Tech type firms.
Okay.
Those are the bigger firms that we'd be looking at.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. All right.
Anything else?
So, Greg, the process now, we're going to need a resolution authorizing.
Typically,
to set the
you
next vote.
you consider a resolution authorizing soliciting requests for proposals for the facility study.
Just wish the residents of Carmel, too, knew this was on. I just, all the discussions we've had with the people from Carmel, too, and their public comments, I mean, just wish they knew it was on. I'm happy, but, they might have wanted to say something tonight.
Councilman Barilli, they can come to the office at any time and speak to us, and I'd be more than willing to speak to whoever has any comments or questions. It's
No, they say
fairly
that.
straightforward. That's
They'll have it on
what
next
we're
week
here for.
Yeah.
Also, so if they want to take comment on it, at that point, you can do it as well.
Okay.
It's up to you.
All right. Yeah, if there's any residents of the hamlet of Carmel, if you weren't aware that this was on this evening, it was posted, but in all fairness, it was posted at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, yesterday afternoon. So not everybody looks at the agenda ahead of time. So,
That opens
In
up
all
another
fair- right.
question that the people have been asking me is, why can't we get the agenda posted Friday at 5 o'clock or Monday at 9 o'clock? I understand there are additions, but the preliminary one,
Let it evolve.
it evolves.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying we could post it as preliminary and add to it Monday or Tuesday. But a lot of people are asking me, why are they waiting till Tuesday, 3 p.m. to see what's going on Wednesday?
yeah, good
It's a
point.
fair
No,
question.
It is. Yeah, completely fair. I
No, but-
understand, yeah. But that would be something that the board, if the board wants it posted on, and I agree with you, on a Friday, a preliminary agenda or a tentative agenda,
Something
I
like
have
this
no
is
problem
important.
with that, but it may be, just so it's understood, that may be subject to change before it's
Of
finalized.
course,
Yeah.
preliminary subject change.
Right, so they would see it, they'd have the weekend to see it.
Call
And
the neighbor or
and if
something
one person saw it, they'll call the neighbor, and the next neighbor will tell the,
Yeah,
right.
but they
Right.
should be aware this is on for the next meeting.
Yeah, yeah, and also the Hamlet of Carmel Civic Association, they have a website that they could actually announce that on, where there's quite a few people from the Hamlet, that monitor that website, they'll get an email or something, and they'll be able to see it at that point. So, I don't object to that, posting it on a Friday, a tentative budget, tentative agenda.
Right.
Right, schedule, so, understanding it is subject to change. Okay, we could do that, Mike, and I agree with you, I think that's something that's,
Thank you.
all right, okay. All right, any other questions or comments for the engineers at this point? No? All right, there being none, thank you, guys. Thanks, John, thanks, Rich. Okay, county executive's here, good. Thanks, Mary Ellen, how are you? Good, good.
Do you want to just get them done, because that's a big topic?
Yeah, yeah, so why don't we just do that? They're up next anyway.
This
All right.
might be a big topic to have them sit.
Yeah. No, well, this is theirs. What do you mean, have them sit, Jen?
I was actually going to say, if the tenant can go like that,
Hey, hey,
Big topic.
all right, hey,
gotta take
John? All right.
They, ours can wait.
John, how long is your agenda item going to take, you think? Okay, so why don't we get you out of the way, and then the big topic is number 8. So we'll let John go first, and then we'll go to number 8. All right, John. Good idea, John. I think I like that.
The Putnam County Traffic Safety Board had some issues and concerns on different intersections throughout the town that they wanted to look into. One was the intersection of Old Route 6 and Houston Road. Apparently, tractor trailers, large trucks attempt to make left turns there and get stuck on the hump that's actually in the intersection. Mike Simone said he's already either ordered or has no left turn for tractor trailer signs. I don't know if we need board approval to have him install it or if he can install it on his own.
I'm typically, annually, you look at the V&T and you add either, parking restrictions or additional traffic control devices and locations at various areas throughout the town. So if it's somewhere where it's just town roads involved, I would suggest you amend Section 147. There's matters here that deal with either DOT roads or
Correct.
county roads, and that's something you're going to reach out to those jurisdictions and ask them for either a study or a project or to place a control device. That's a little different.
The Traffic Safety Board also noticed Route 6 and Crane Road as possibly an intersection that could use a traffic light. Personally, I don't feel that way. There's nothing to suggest that that area needs a traffic light unless the board feels otherwise that it's worthy of a study request from state DOT.
What were they basing that on, John? Just
Complaints
Accident?
that come into the Traffic Safety Board. Accident-wise, there's been 15, possibly a max of 22 in the last 8 years. That's
intersection
less than
probably
3 a
has
year.
More visibility than any intersection in the town.
I travel that intersection at least 2 times a day. I have no issues there. Okay.
yeah. All right.
The Putnam County Traffic Safety Board.
It's a board made up of a member from Carmel Police, Sheriff's Department, State Police, highway departments throughout the county, and basically address issues that people can send it into the county legislature, send it into the Putnam County Traffic Safety Board website and complain about different areas.
I could find a lot more traffic safety issues than the 5 that are on here.
You can send your issue into the Traffic Safety Board and we'll get on top of it, sir.
All right, next one, John, number 3.
The intersection of Route 6N, Hill Street, and Myrtle Avenue. Apparently, this has been talked about for years, talks of a roundabout. I know I've spoken with Mr. Keith from County Highway, and this would be an undertaking of town, county, state DOT, and DEP with regards to actually moving Myrtle Avenue over where it comes out onto 6N, readjusting Red Mills Bank entrance and exit, and creating a roundabout. I mean, this was something that, even if you started at requesting a study now, would probably be years in the making, but again, it's something that,
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of the roundabout, but I'm just not sure how that would,
Now with that water coming down.
yeah, that's part of the problem. is-
again, if the board wanted to, by resolution, send a request to County Highway and State DOT to start looking at it together as a joint project, that's the board's discretion.
Would it need to be deemed from the beginning as a roundabout, or would we be able to?
I
leave it up
guess
to the
that's just
experts?
something that's always been brought up, is that a roundabout would be easier than a traffic light. I know they're talking about putting a roundabout up at, by Home Depot on Independent Way, where you have the entrances are offset at the Dunkin' Donuts. So,
I think it's worth a study there, at least.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah. So Greg, we would just, by resolution, we would support a study? A study of that intersection by the state DOT and county?
That's typically how you'll do it with whatever the jurisdictions are and whatever the intersections you want.
Okay.
And the resolution in support of a commissioning of a traffic study to, you know, mitigate whatever the impacts or the risks are associated that they've been reported with the intersections.
All right. Okay.
I would request, we've had letter from a resident on West Shore Drive, and I've traveled that road, and I agree with her that we should send a letter to the state requesting that, A, speed limit signs be posted. I believe it's the only road in town that doesn't have a posted speed limit, which automatically makes it a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. This section on the Drewville Road side, that half is very windy and should be a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And then the second half of the road towards Croton Falls Road should be posted as 45 miles an hour.
Would that be a letter to the state or the county, John? The West Shore Drive is a county road, I believe.
It's a county road. I don't know if we have to send it to the county or the state, though.
Well, I think it would go to the county if it's a county-controlled road. What's the current speed limit on the full length now?
It's not posted, so it defaults to 55 miles an hour.
It's not posted at all?
Like the Audemars.
Okay,
It's not posted, it's 50.
all right. Okay, all right, so we'll support a letter to the county, Fred, I guess, on West Shore Drive for a posted speed limit. Okay.
And the final one on that is, I would like to request that the county, there's a resident, well, anybody who drives Croton Falls Road knows that the S-turns, as you approach the McLaughlin's, constantly accidents. It's very slippery. The road gets no sun there. It never dries out in the winter and spring. I'd been going back and forth through email with a resident in the area, and I had actually been driven through another town and came across rumble strips that were literally cut in the double yellow line. I thought that was a good idea. I spoke to David Keith from Highway at the Traffic Safety Board. He said, 10 years ago, he's like, I wouldn't have been with you. He's like, now, he's like, yeah, I've seen them. He's like, I could probably get the machine from the state to do it. So he said, send a letter to the county requesting to try that out there in those S-turns and see if that can't wake people up that they're going too fast. They start touching the double yellow line and get the rumbling in their car.
Okay.
Absolutely on that one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's.
I do that every day.
Yep, that would probably help. Okay. Anything else, John, on the traffic safety?
That's it for traffic safety.
Okay. All right. You want to go on to number 10 now?
Yeah, the Crash Logic through LexisNexis is a system that's no cost to the town. It's going to work in conjunction with our new report managing system, Impact 3. What would happen is anybody involved in an accident will get a card with the accident number. They can log on through the website, get notified by email when the accident report is ready. They can go online, pay for the accident report online, and then be able to download the accident report themselves without having to come into the police station, call the records department. Everything can be done through this website.
A lot of other towns are doing that now, right?
Kent Police has been doing it for a couple years now, and they have a bunch of police departments that have been doing it.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. But
We're
they could still walk in if they chose
They can
to.
still walk into the police station and pick up their accident report, but if there's somebody who doesn't live in town or they do a lot of commuting, they can do everything on the internet through the website.
Good. I like it.
Along with that comes, we'll get crash mapping,
Yeah.
where basically, where I had to start printing out just blotters when I was looking at 6N and Crane Road to try to look up accidents. This system will not only break it down by the weather that day, the drivers, you can break down how you want to map out areas in town where accidents occur to a whole level that we can't do right now. And that also comes with the free program.
Okay.
I just don't know if you have to, council will have to change the fee schedule as far as, I believe we're going to set the cost at $15.
We'd have to amend the fee schedule to reflect this or add this to the
Correct.
fee schedule.
Whatever, when you either adopt your fee schedule, or you can amend it from time to time during the year, you can add this.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, John.
John, thank you.
Okay.
Would the officer, just a quick question, is the officer going to advise, and I know a lot of times they're not able to do that in an accident scene, how is the motorist that's involved in the accident, will they become aware that they can get it online as opposed to walking in here for it? I mean, is there something that is there any way we can add that to, that you can access the accident report online?
Yeah, when Sergeant Smith was working this out with the sales rep from the company, they give us business cards where officers can just write down our accident report number, because they can't be, it's changing, it can't be printed on the card. And just hand them the card.
Right on the card.
Say, this is how you pick up a copy of the accident report.
Perfect. Okay, great. At least they're made aware of it. So, good. All right, any questions, comments for John on these two items we just covered?
My question, $15? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that like what you've seen as the average for other police
Yeah, it's anywhere from
departments?
$15 to $20.
Okay.
$15 gets broken up between, $5 goes to the town, $5 goes to Impact, our RMS software company, and $5 goes to the website, the company handling the accident reports.
Okay. Seems like a nice convenience and alleviate a lot of time, hopefully downstairs.
Hopefully, it should help our records department.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. Okay, the next agenda item, this is agenda item number 8. County Executive Mary Ellen Odell is here with us this evening. We have Neil Sullivan, also legislator, Putnam County. Amy Sage is here in the audience as well.
If you want to sit.
Jeff Cantelmo from Insight Engineering. Rick O'Rourke is here. I'm not sure, Rick, are you going to be making any presentations this evening?
Thanks.
Okay, all right.
I think Rick can probably, if there are any questions, he's
can-
making,
yeah.
he's
Good idea.
making himself available for
Okay.
comment.
All right, and Fred Penna, Commissioner of Highways and Facilities, is here also. This is to update the Town of Carmel Town Board and also the Town of Carmel residents on the proposed Carmel Sewer Feasibility Study that's ongoing, and Insight Engineering is performing that study. So we're all excited about it. We think this is a positive initiative for the town. This would be to study a sewer main to run west on Route 6, or some people believe it's south, but it's west on Route 6 from where Wallhour is, Wallhour Paint, west towards the county line, towards 118 and Baldwin Place Road.
I think Jeff has some maps, Supervisor, that he can
Okay.
sort of highlight what the geography is. I do want to, just for the record, say this is not a proposed facility study. This is a facility study. This is a project that we are all very excited about. You can see by who's here tonight that there's definitely a lot of interest in the community. Of one of our largest business owners, Villa Barone, is here. They have a project that will change the dynamics of the tax base, not only in the town of Carmel, but in Putnam County. You have the president of the Chamber of Commerce here, and you have legislators Sage and Sullivan also here. You have Faith Ann Butcher from the Chamber of Commerce. So you have the stakeholders here that are very interested in what this facility will deliver as far as facts. We also have, from Putnam County, we have the chair of the EDC, the Economic Development Council, Jill Baricchio, is also here. I apologize if I haven't missed anyone. But, you know, this is something that we have been talking about for a very long time. You know, understanding that we have constraints because of the watershed in this county. When we try to identify ways to lower property taxes, we look at increasing revenue. We look at increasing the tax base. And in the town of Carmel, of which I'm a lifelong resident, we've seen many opportunities come and go. And a lot of it is because of the infrastructure or the lack thereof. We've spent a lot of money on residential infrastructure projects. We need to spend more money on commercial infrastructure projects, and the watershed dictates the guidelines for that. The time is now, the future is now for this town and for this county. We have, I think you are all aware that we have a parallel project going on right now with the Danbury-Brewster sewer connection, where we are basically the same business model. We are buying excess capacity from the city of Danbury. It's beneficial to them because it will lower their user rates. And everyone knows that that corridor, which is a 2-lane highway, there's only one reason to be on it, and it's to leave here with your money, spend it on the other side of the line, state line, and come back. So the whole idea of sewering that corridor is to keep the money here in Putnam County. It will be a tremendous boost for the Brewster School District as well as the town of Southeast, but of course it also keeps the money in Putnam County, and you know, that is a very exciting dynamic project at the same time. This project will deliver the same opportunities, we do believe, but we also believe that it's good environmentally, because in the conversations that we've had over the years about this study, we've recognized that Society Hills sewer treatment plant is on life support. We know that that community is not in any financial position to rebuild that process. We also have identified 2 commercial plants also along that corridor that are aging out. So the concept is to buy the excess capacity. That's one concept. The other is to perhaps build another entire new plant. Take the other 3 aging facilities offline, and then build our commercial corridor. Route 6, for all intent and purposes, we know, is our commercial corridor here in the town of Carmel, Mahopac proper. So we've identified, we have some mapping, looking at the parcels along that corridor. Right now, the building envelopes for those individual parcels, as septic would provide, they're constrained. It's very obvious, and it's common sense, to build sewer so that those building envelopes increase in size, which absolutely will increase the tax base and, of course, afford a different opportunity for economic growth in the township of Carmel, Mahopac proper, and in Putnam County. So we've retained Insight. We're working as partners, the town of Carmel, the county of Putnam, to take a look, a deep dive, if you will, to see what exactly would be involved in this process. I have worked very closely with the DEP in conversations with Senator Murphy, with various landowners in the area. We've done a tremendous amount of work and study on this. You've been involved in it as well. And I think that we all realize that this is a game changer, and it will definitely be a very good, positive economic opportunity for all of us here in not only Carmel, but in Putnam County. So if you want Jeff to bring you up to date, the task force, which we've put in place, has been updated and will continue to be updated on the progress by Insight Engineering. We will convene meetings whenever we feel they're necessary, of course, when there's information that decisions have to be made, or just to keep everyone up to speed on the project itself. We will be including the project in the next consolidated funding application round. We would expect those typically come from the governor's office in the spring. It's a hurry up, no huddle play, but we're ready. We've been in the queue before. Megan Taylor, who is with us, who's the Regional Economic Development Representative for the state of New York, is always on speed dial for us here in Putnam County, and I plan on asking her to make this a priority project when we do have our facts and we're ready to submit again. So with that, I'll turn this over.
Thank you for that. That was a very comprehensive explanation as to really what we're doing, what it's all about, and I appreciate that. Thanks from Mary Ellen. Jeff, you want to?
Sure. Good evening. Jeff Cantelmo from Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture from here in Carmel. As the county executive noted, we are working in a contract with the county in coordination with the town to take the first technical step in preparing a report on the subject sewer project. What you have up on the easel right now is a map that was issued as one of our first technical memorandums, which identifies the service area that we're studying. And as the county executive explained, the service area starts on the portion of Route 6, which is just south of the Bucks Hollow Road intersection, which is, there's a top of the hill there where I think it's Countryside Kitchen is, and starts at that high point as a geographical starting point for a sewer system, and will flow in a south and westerly direction down Route 6. And the plan is to catch basically the commercially zoned property. The town has a substantial area in that zone, which is commercially zoned as either commercial zoning or commercial business park zoning, that aligns along Route 6 and the roads parallel and adjacent to Route 6. There are about 150 parcels in that area. Starting from that high point to the north, it'll extend, as I said, along Route 6 all the way to the county line. At the county line, there is separate infrastructure from the town of Somers and Westchester County controlled infrastructure that has its own issues with sewer, which are being addressed by them. We're looking at a solution that Putnam County could rely on to service the area. And I'm going to go through the steps real quickly of what we're doing and where we're at. We initiated our work earlier this year. We really just got off the ground. We had an initial stakeholders meeting. We have developed a distribution list where we are periodically sending out summaries of the tasks as we move through them in a logical order. Our task 1, assessment and definition of service area, which you see on the map, which is up, was issued at the end of January. We are right now wrapping up our second task, which is the estimation of the wastewater flows to quantify what type of flow we think we need for the service area present and future. We then will move to the third task, which is the schematic layout of the piping infrastructure, collection and conveyance system. And then the fourth task will be the evaluation of alternative wastewater treatment options. And as the county exec noted, we're looking at 2 options, one which would use excess capacity of the Heritage Hills wastewater treatment plant, and 2 would be a new plant in the service area zone, which would utilize offsets and variance proceedings available through the DEP to allow for a new plant. Our next task would be to define order of magnitude costs for the capital O&M and potential user fees associated with the project, and then finally discussion on the institutional arrangements in terms of how the ownership and control of the system could be set up. We would then issue a draft report, get comments back, and wrap it up as a final report. I'll point out that this is really an initial step. This is the first step. We're not able in this step to look at every gory detail, but the idea really is to define the project, both physically and fiscally. So the idea is understand, maybe how the pipes would arrange, where the pump stations would be, how big would they be, how much would they cost, and those related issues. Once a study like this is completed, there's a series of following steps moving into facility planning and then design and permitting, which is a long, arduous undertaking. But as the county executive said, the future's now. The fact that this is moving along now at a good pace, I think is great for all of the stakeholders. Our plan is to wrap this study up in the next several months. We plan on issuing each one of our technical memos on tasks on a slightly less than a monthly basis, so the goal is to wrap this up post-haste. So that's our plan, and I'm willing to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, all right, good, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, this is something that we're all looking forward to. Servicing that section of Route 6 and corridor absolutely is positive. It's going to benefit all those parcels and all those property owners along that corridor that currently they're not able to maximize the use of their property because it's not sewered, as you explained. So I think this is something that we're all enthusiastic about. It's a project that I, for one, hope that it moves forward and that it comes to fruition at some point. And it sounds like this is, and I agree, it's the first positive step towards achieving sewer along that corridor. So this is great. Thank you so much for supporting this. And we support it as well, and we want to see this happen, so.
Yeah, it's, you know, I have to give a note of thanks to the Putnam County Legislature in sum total. They had, they share the vision of the importance of this project, and they voted to approve the funding of this study. You know, we like to be good partners in Putnam County. Maybe we can even put this in our shared services plan. Kenny, maybe we get
Sure,
the credits
yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
But, you know, just to, again, to close, but to highlight at the same time, what could happen here is that the Villa Barone may be able to bring the first hotel to Putnam County, which would be proper to have it happen in the county seat. And I know that they themselves can tell you how many times they've had to turn away those who would like to stay here. It can also change the dynamics, and I know that this board is working very hard in changing the Main Street in the town of Mahopac with the Swan Cove Park project. You know, people will come to this community to have a wedding or an event, be able to stay over, and I know myself as a traveler, the first thing you ask is, where's the cute little town that I can go have lunch or dinner or just sit and maybe find some music. This can really, this opportunity here is not only a great benefit for the corridor, but when you think about how it can change the dynamic of the village of Mahopac, it's very, very exciting. And, you know, how long have we been talking about getting a hotel in Putnam County? You know, wouldn't it be nice to be able to have a high school reunion for once in your own county or a wedding and be able to have your family come and not have to go over to Danbury with their Amex card and their Visa card. So we thank you for the partnership. We thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. And of course, anyone's available here to answer any questions at any time.
Okay.
Jeff, could you just elaborate? I know it's very preliminary here, but can you elaborate on and I do appreciate the two options, one looking to the heritage and the other one is to build a separate plant. Could you talk about like what's being looked at to build a separate plant, and or would it be, instead of building a separate plant, would it ever be hooking up to the existing plant and just expanding that possibly?
Yeah, the county received early, through early discussions with the DEP, that the idea of expanding the Mahopac plant really wasn't something that they felt was doable from their side. The idea of a new plant on the southern end of Mahopac is something that we believe technically, albeit complicated through offsets and variances, can be done. As the county executive pointed out, there are actually two wastewater treatment plants within the service area and one next door. The two plants in the service area are Society Hills and Mahopac Village Center. Those speedies permit actually provide for the benefit to consolidate, take advantage of an offset by increasing their effluent limit and phosphorus. It becomes very technical very quickly. We'll lay it out in the report, but that's the springboard for us to get through the regulatory side of permission for a new wastewater treatment plant. We believe having an option that looks at a wastewater treatment plant in the service area for the service area is a very strong option, because it puts everyone else on notice that, you know, you're not beholden to them for something. You've got an option where you can solve your own problems. So,
And that's why I appreciate the dual option.
We always like a plan B, if not a C and a D.
Yeah, and again, working on that, and I may be getting too far ahead, and if I am, stop me or say it's going to be part of the study, but, you know, looking at going down to Heritage to buy excess capacity from there, could an option be that we buy the capacity, but we don't pipe it down there? We just buy the capacity to be used to build our plant, and it's the same concept, but you're not building the piping from, say, Mahopac all the way down to Heritage. We're just buying the capacity so we could have that capacity in our own town plant, the second plant.
Yeah, there actually, I believe that could be negotiated with the city, again, within the phosphorus limitations. The concern, the concern there really is the cost of the plant substantial to build the new plant. The cost for the heritage capacity is substantial. You know, the cost of the piping may be less substantial. And
you
I
gotta work
think
it all out, sure.
when we get to that point, I think the numbers will bear out that may not be a fiscally prudent move, because the cost to pay for the capacity and build a new plant would be very big compared to the savings of the piping. So it may not bear it.
But it's going to be looked at.
We'll look at it, but I believe summarily, I think it'll quickly
I'm with you.
fade away.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, John. Jeff. Board, Jonathan, do you have any questions?
No questions. I'm just excited.
Yeah. That it's,
Infrastructure is really the one thing that we need to be looking at, and without having sewer that runs down through what should be our major commercial corridor, we're kind of at a stop. And if we're going to alleviate the real estate taxes on the residents, this is about the only solution that we have, so just keep moving forward. Thank you.
We're all for it. Yeah. Okay. Mike, did you have anything?
I'm good,
At
thank
this
you.
point?
Thanks to the
Okay.
Putnam County Legislature.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. County Executive Mary Ellen Odell, appreciate your time. Jeff, thanks for being here as well. So just, why don't, I'm going to open it up to the floor now. Does anyone here have any questions, comments, concerns that they may want to address with respect to this particular project? Come on up now, and you can address it to the county executive or Jeff from Insight. Rick?
If I may, my name's Rick O'Rourke. I'm with the law firm of Keene and Bean. I represent Heritage Hills, the Sewage Works Corporation, and the developer for the last 25 years, and been dealing with their sewer issues for a very, very long period of time. Just by way of update, I think there are two things of note. Number one, we have been authorized to proceed to the construction for a further upgrade of our plant, which will allow us to meet our Speedy's permitted capacity of 702,000 gallons per day. With that, that provides us with what we believe to be sufficient capacity to service this Route 6 corridor. I know there's been mention of the fact that the city, that the town of Somers has taken the position that perhaps it's their capacity, but it is not, as a matter of law, simply because it's our property. We're a private corporation. It's our property to sell. And the permissive service area that exists already abuts the town of Carmel. So frankly, we're there. The town of Somers has met in an executive session with its town attorney. They will be meeting again. They're well aware of what we assert to be our rights. And so we have this capacity that's for sale. And so that doesn't require anything by way of construction of a new plant. We're finding out that sewer service is something that's very valuable. And we have several suitors, shall we say, for this type of thing. We're excited about this project as well. I've been a Putnam County resident for over 40 years, and I live right near that border where everybody takes the road to go over to Connecticut. So I'd like to see a little tax relief and help for all of us here as well.
Sure.
If you have any questions regarding the operation of the plant.
I do, just to clarify, because I might be misinterpreting, did you say that you have capacity, but you'd have to build a plant in Heritage to get up to that capacity to sell?
No.
Okay,
No,
okay.
perhaps I misspoke.
Well, I could have heard it wrong.
No, what happened, what's going on, like all of the other plants that were existing at the time of the adoption of the New York City watershed regulations that became effective in May of 1997, we went through an upgrade program. Prior to that upgrade program, the plant at Heritage Hills was considered a model of operation. We had no problems. But of course, we needed to update the plant, particularly with respect to phosphorus. The upgrade was designed, it was constructed, and then it didn't work. Consequently, what happened was, after a long examination of design issues and everything else, the City of New York recognized that there was a problem here, and they have allocated the additional $7 million, which is now necessary to meet all of the requirements. That is not funded by anybody other than the City of New York, so it's not something that's going to be passed along to a utility rate consumer. So what we're saying is that by this time next spring, we will have a plant with capacity for 702,000 gallons per day, and if Town of Carmel, Putnam County wants to enter into a contract, we're there.
Rick, just for the board's knowledge, the plant, as you said, has a capacity of 702 gallons, 702,000 gallons a day.
Correct.
What's the average flow being used by Heritage Hills?
Presently, we're at approximately 300,000.
So they have about 400,000 gallons a day of excess capacity. And again, for the record, for the board, the Heritage Hills build-out is 100% completed.
Yes, yes, yes. And in fact, what we've done is we have extended our service to, there's a DeChico's that's being built, as you know, as well as and I was the attorney for that project. The DeChico's and Somers Crossing, which is going to be a lovely 166-unit townhouse development built, and they are being hooked in. And that whole project is, we're looking at, that's 24,000 gallons per day. So, you know, we have plenty left.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rick. Appreciate it. Anybody else have anything else for Rick before you? Okay, thanks, Rick. We're going to continue on with any public comment at this point on this particular item. Anybody want to come up? Bob?
How you doing, Town Board? About 7 or 8 years ago, I think Governor Cuomo did away, Robert Buckley, a Mahopac resident. About 7 or 8 years ago, I believe it was, the Governor Cuomo did away with the Empire Zone Board, which I was a member of in Putnam County at that time. I was involved in a lot of projects at that time throughout the county. And some of the studies that we looked at and took were actually the traffic and the people from our town who actually shop in Dutchess, Danbury. I actually went over there with my video camera. I couldn't believe the amount of cars in the Danbury Mall, that first shopping center on the left-hand side. And obviously I go down to Jefferson Valley Mall. And at that time, we realized Putnam County, our lunch was getting eaten by Westchester, Dutchess, and Danbury. And the county was getting really we were losing so much sales tax revenue. At the time, we was trying to figure out what can we do to bring some sales tax revenue into the county. And one of the big things we found out when we was talking to different businesses along the corridor over there in Southeast, which the county executive is talking about, was they wanted sewer. And over here in Mahopac, as you know, we have a lot of older businesses. I'm sure if we were to get sewer over here, these people would take their properties, redevelop them, really do a nice job, maybe renovate the properties they got. Because you always hear people talking about, why don't we take what we currently have and fix it up? And I think we would definitely see that with sewer. But the reason I tell you why I was on the Empire Zone is, at that point, I was working for Westchester County. I worked for 28 years. I was involved with politics down there. I knew everybody. From Andy O'Rourke to Andy Spano to Rob Astorino to George Lattimore now. This issue hasn't come up with George Lattimore, but I just want to throw this at you because I did hear somebody say, well, maybe we could connect to the Westchester sewer line. Why haven't we looked at that? I can assure you that will never happen. Just recently, it got extended to Somers over here for all the development that's going over there for Avalon and some of the other building over there. And they had some major issues getting over there. But all county executives and the Board of Legislators clearly said, no way, no how would we ever, ever extend our sewer line into Putnam County. So somebody on this town board did mention that to me, so I want to throw it out there. That will never happen. I know them all down there personally. It hasn't happened over the last 20 years, and it's nothing they're looking to do right now. The plant is in Peekskill, and they don't want, unfortunately, our sewer waste going under their grounds, and they want to make sure they keep their capacity. So I thought that was important that you be aware of that. Let's talk about the TIP program a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with the TIP program. It's actually called the Transportation Improvement Program. It's a program that if you're trying to do major improvements on a state road, before you can actually get those improvements, actually moving in a positive direction, you need to get on the TIP program. When you're on the TIP program, it usually takes about 5 years even to get considered. Now, I believe from Cuddy Road in Yorktown up into Mayapack, if it's not on the TIP program, it's going to be on the TIP program. They're talking about it right now. Would you know, Jeff, by any chance off the top of your head? You know, I didn't know if you knew anything.
The widening of Route 6 from
Yeah.
Curry Road north?
Right,
No, I'm
because
not
the
sure
state
if
has
it's
talked about it. They did some work over there by, I guess, over there by where the Mayapack Farm area is. They did some work over there. But they are looking, the state is studying actually making it 4 lanes all the way down, which would be great for us if we had a sewer over here, and it would be great for our businesses if we can upgrade our businesses. So let me take a look at some notes real quick here. I think obviously, I think bringing a sewer line from Somers down to downtown Mayapack would be a fantastic idea. I think Society Hill condos, they're in desperate need of help. This is one of the ways we have a little leverage. We have leverage in a couple ways. The county executive has a fantastic relationship with the people in the DEP. She goes right to the top. She bypasses the middlemen, thank God. She works very closely with Senator Murphy, who obviously can help us in a number of ways. And the DEP would love to see this problem resolved over there at Society Hill because they have some concerns. They would love to see a sewer line along Route 6. So we have an opportunity now, maybe, to work cooperatively, the county, the town, and if the state has to get involved, to get this done. This could be a really, really positive thing for our town, for our businesses. I see the gentleman from Villa Barone back there. Well, every time I go to an event over there, they're always talking about, man, we lose customers, we lose business, we're shipping them to Connecticut to stay, we're losing parties because we don't have a hotel. And it would be great if they could have a beautiful hotel across the street, and we can make our place, our town, a vibrant town. Well, I moved here 22 years ago. Actually, it's been 24. I know some of you call me a newbie. You lived here your whole life, but you know, I think Mayapack had a little more stature to it back then. And I think we lost a little lust over the years. And I think fixing up this end of Route 6 would be a great thing for the town of Mayapack. I think the county executive is doing over in the southeast. I think it's a great thing over there. So just wanted to throw a few things at you. I think bringing in some great commercial businesses along with residential properties. We got a lot of our young kids around here graduating college, have nowhere to live. You know what they're doing? They're going to Somers. They're going to Heritage Hills. They're paying $3,000 a month rent right across the street. We've got great senior housing over there, and you got Avalon charged anywhere from, I think, $2,500 to $3,500. And basically, we should have that over here. And when you talk about sales tax revenue, you're talking about large numbers going to the county. And everybody says, how does that benefit us? I'm not going to get into all the things that the county does for the local municipalities and towns, but you guys as leaders know it trickles down. There's a number of services they provide for the town, let alone our schools. We'll get school taxes from it. And when I ride down Route 6, I look at those businesses. Can you imagine sewers down there and what these businesses could potentially do with their businesses for the growth? Just let me take a quick look through my notes here, so I have to come back up here again if you don't mind. I think for the most part, I said Megan Taylor. I wrote that down as you spoke. Megan Taylor now is a key player in the New York State development. She worked for the county executive. The county executive has a direct line. We're in a position, I hate to say we're in a position of power, but position of where we can communicate with the people in key places to actually get this done. And I would hope that you guys would support this wholeheartedly, working with the county and moving forward and getting this thing done. And I just want to say thank you and tell you I support 100%. I think it'd be a great thing for the town of Mayapack. Thank you. Hamlet.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, Bob, this project has our total and complete support. I can assure you that. This is something that this board is looking forward to. It's something that we're excited about. We want this to happen. We want a hotel on Route 6 in Mahopac. We desperately need it. Nikki, how many people do you send over to Connecticut annually?
there's no question about it that, there's no,
4,000 and 5,000 rooms that leave town of Carmel and Putnam County.
there's no question about the need for a hotel on Route 6. Everybody knows that.
Right.
But Mr. Buckley is saying how it's going to bring all the, commercial development and tax money and possibly some other homes. I-105, I'm going to use that a lot. I-105 don't care about Curry Road, and I don't care about Somers, and I don't care about Westchester County or Connecticut. I care about Mayapack and Carmel. And I am 110% in favor of a sewer line. But the sewer line has to bring tax money into the town of Carmel and commercial development. And I, for one, would want to see that, what's on the drawing board. Because the commercial, when I'm done, I'm very aware of the commercial market out there, and nothing would make me happier to see taxpayers come into the town of Carmel. Nothing would make me happier. But a sewer line going down there encompasses a lot of property. And to say the people on Route 6 are going to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, you could upgrade to an extent. You still have parking issues, still have traffic issues, and you have a lot of other issues on Route 6, which I referred to when I talked about that traffic problems, at the 5 things that were brought up. Don't get this wrong. I am 110% behind water, sewer, and gas throughout the entire commercial district of this town. But whatever we approve or bring in has to benefit the taxpayers. And sewer, the only way it's going to benefit the taxpayers is for large commercial taxpayers to pay into the tax roll. And that's what I want to see.
Just for clarification purposes, I just brought up the Cuddy Road up.
Right.
Because, when we try to come home off the Taconic and we get off the Parkway, usually we used to have to run down 6N. And if the state paid for, went from 2 to 4 roads, 2 to 4 lanes on each side, I just think it would benefit everybody that lives in Mayapack. So, not that I care about Somers, I don't care. My point was an FYI for you to be aware of, in case the issue comes up and people talks about traffic and traffic studies. They are talking about doubling the lanes. As far as Somers is concerned, I would hope, I'm going to say this publicly, I've never seen the county executive, nor have I seen anybody on this town board or any previous town board oppose any projects on the Route 6 corridor that come basically right into our backyard. I have heard things from some of the Somers town board and supervisors about not liking some of the stuff we might be wanting to do, and I think that's really unfair. So I hope that's not the case, because this town board has done nothing but been supportive of Somers and their projects, and I don't believe you ever, as a supervisor, send a letter opposing any projects over there, even though, it might have impacted the traffic and it may have had some adverse effects on us. So hopefully we get the same respect from Somers when we move forward as we gave them as a town and as a county. So that's what I'm saying. Thank you, Mr. Borelli.
Agreed, yep.
And by the way, at the last meeting, I want to say something to John. When I went home and looked at my notes, you guys brought up Baldwin Meadows. I just have to say this for the record. You guys did mention to me about a bathroom up there, and I said at the last meeting that you and Susie didn't, so I was remiss there. So I needed to clarify the record, because you and Susie did bring it up at a meeting a while back, and I want to be clear about that. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak on this particular project that we just covered this evening? Come on up at this time. No? Amy?
Good evening. How are you? I'm Amy Sage. I'm a Mahopac resident. I'm also the legislator for the specific district where we're talking about the sewer line. I just wanted to say that even prior to becoming a county legislator, I worked very diligently with the Mayapack Carmel Chamber of Commerce and with other businesses around the county to try to push this forward. I could not be more excited for this project. I'm very happy for my constituents who have the opportunity to have an upgraded sewer system, and I'm so looking forward to the possibility of a hotel and our tax base expanding, and I just want to say I'm very excited about this, and I'm so fortunate to be on the task force. And I thank you all.
Great. Thanks so much, Amy. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Come on up at this time. Okay. All right, there being none, thank you so much for being here this evening, County Executive Odell.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So,
Could I just indulge you, this town board and this audience for 1 second? I think you're all aware, you've seen, we've posted a wanted sign. We had some vandalism done on our Putnam County Golf Course, which we are all very, very proud of here in Putnam County, on all the work that was done in that facility, all of the taxpayer dollars that have been invested in that. We're all very proud of it. Many of us enjoy the wonderful events there. If you're not a golfer, we have a beautiful facility. And unfortunately, we had two, we believe, residents take ATV vehicles onto our golf course and cause an extreme amount of damage, unnecessary. You know, it's one thing to want to take an ATV vehicle, quad out on a golf course. There's plenty of cart paths, okay? You could have stayed on the cart paths. Maybe even hit a fairway if you weren't sure where you were because there was snow cover. But there's no excuse for going onto greens and spinning out and causing a tremendous amount of damage. There was nothing but malintent there, and it was malicious intention. And I'm asking anyone who's watching this who has any information on those individuals to please, the Carmel Police Department has been doing their due diligence along with the Putnam County Sheriff's Department, but that is a taxpayer facility. We all invested in that. That's our facility. And what was done was wrong, and it was done with intent and malice, and we can't stand for that. And for those individuals, when we do get them, and we will, I promise you that the individuals will be made responsible, and whoever they are responsible to. So I'm asking for your help. Keep your ears to the ground, and anyone, any resident who has any information on that, and anonymously, please, please let us know. It's very important. We cannot tolerate that kind of behavior in this town. That's not how we raise our children. That's not the way we expect people to respect our properties in this county and in this town. Thanks.
great. Thank you so much. And Mary Ellen and the legislators that are here and the other Putnam County legislators, I want to thank you for supporting this project for the town of Carmel. You've always been supportive of the town, and this is just another example of how, you help us out when needed. And funding the cost of this sewer feasibility study is a big cost, and you're behind it and support it. The county executive is supportive of it also, and I just want to thank you for that, for being proactive and working with the town of Carmel with this project. I know it's going to happen. We're all excited about it, as many people have mentioned. So let's continue to work collectively together to bring this to fruition and to bring it to reality. And I know there's a lot of businesses that are going to benefit tremendously by this sewer line down the Route 6 corridor. So
Yeah,
thank
as
you
I
so
said,
much.
the future is now.
It is now.
We don't
You're
have
right.
any more time.
You're exactly right. So
Thank you.
Let's make it happen. Thank you so much. Okay, that's it, right? Okay, so that completes the agenda items for this evening's Town Board work session. I'm going to open up the floor now to any public comment on the agenda items that we covered this evening. Agenda items 1 through 10. Is there anyone that wants to comment on agenda items? Jerry?
Jerry Revnitsky from MAPAC. For about the past 29 years that I can recall, there has been discussion of the intersection of Route 6N and Hill Street. I think when I asked questions of previous town boards, I think the response was always, there are many fender benders there, but they won't do anything until someone loses their life. And that was pretty much the attitude. And I'm not sure, and I certainly am very happy that the police departments in the area are doing their study of traffic problems to make things safer for the residents. I'm not sure that a roundabout would be very much safer. I've seen many roundabouts where it's kind of difficult to get into the circle, and I have seen at times there's some accidents in roundabouts. I think it is possible, it was mentioned that if they move the intersection of Myrtle Avenue and Route 6 over to coincide with Hill Street, a traffic light there might be somewhat safer, although I assume that they'll explore that in the study that they'll be doing. But I have a feeling that the traffic light might be somewhat safer than a roundabout. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. If the intersections were aligned, in other words, Myrtle Avenue would have to be reconstructed and aligned with Hill Street, then a traffic light, I think, would be probably the most effective way of controlling
that was mentioned, that they were considering aligning them, and if it is aligned, then it probably would be safer.
I agree with you. The issue here is it's three agencies, the county, the state, and the New York City DEP. And why I say the New York City DEP is because, as you know, under Route 6N at that location is where the sluiceway runs that drains water from Kirk Lake and Lake Mahopac. So that would also have to be upgraded and realigned to coincide with the intersection. So, I mean, can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. So this is a first step towards perhaps the study moving forward and achieving that. So.
I've seen a lot of fender benders there. I pass that intersection every single day, and there are numerous accidents at that place. They didn't mention how many, but I know there's a lot.
That intersection was constructed probably back in the mid-1900s, maybe, early 1900s. I don't know. Whenever it was built, it wasn't designed to handle today's traffic flow.
When I first moved to Mahopac in 1981, at the beginning of 1981, there was very minimal traffic, and it was not as big a problem. Now there's tremendous amount of traffic.
Yeah, I agree. We agree. All right. Thanks, Jerry. Anyone else for agenda items? Yes, Mike.
I want to just emphasize, I think if I understood Mike Borelli talking about the sewer project, and maybe I didn't grasp exactly what you were saying, but it's going to take more than just the sewer to put into the ground to help the businesses there. So you mentioned water. I think water is incredibly important because you won't have anything to flush down the toilet unless you have the water to put into toilet. So I think that's a critical piece. And I also think that there needs to be a strategy. I mean, it would be great if we have a hotel and you know, that could be a central piece to this, but there needs to be a strategy to use that sewer and use that water with these, you know, and develop the businesses. And I'm not an expert on that, but I think we need to think about it holistically. So we need the infrastructure, yes, and the infrastructure needs to include everything that's necessary. And then we need a strategy of how we're going to use it, because you know, if I recall, we put a sewer up on the other end, right? And think about what was there before and what's there now. And yeah, it changed a little bit, but it's not a dramatic change. And we don't have water there, I don't believe, right? So we have to really think about the whole thing in its entirety. Otherwise, we're not going to turn the dial. So I just encourage you to think about it from that perspective. I think we're making a great start, but I think we need to think about all the pieces to the puzzle in order to really solve it. Thanks.
Said perfectly. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else on agenda items right now? Okay, there being none, we're going to open up the floor to general public comment. This is the open forum portion of the meeting where you can come up and address the town board on any town-related issues or matters. You must be a resident, business owner, or taxpayer to speak at the open forum portion of the meeting. Bob?
How you doing? Robert Buckley again, Mayor Peck. Did you guys set a date for closing for Swan Cove?
Yes, we did.
So
It's
you,
the- we did. It's the
Swan
week,
Cove is a done deal?
I'm sorry, I missed that first question.
I said, did you guys set a closing date for Swan Cove?
We'll ask him as soon as he gets back.
Yeah, it's my understanding it's the week of the 19th.
I don't need another date, but you did
The
say
week-
it.
The week of March 19th.
Okay. What about the bank property?
Those discussions are still
Bank
ongoing.
properties in negotiations.
Okay. So you must have changed the provisions of the contract with the owners of Swan Cove property, because in this contract, it said that you would have had to negotiate a deal with the Mahopac, Tompkins Mahopac Bank for their property. So did you change the language in the contract?
Everything's in negotiations. Nothing is closed. Nothing will be divulged to you at this moment.
Well, I'm not looking to be adversarial. I'm just want to ask some questions. The contract clearly says.
I know what the contract says.
So you.
It hasn't closed.
But you set a date.
It hasn't closed. We're in negotiations. Nothing else will be divulged to you this evening.
Oh, not me, the public. It's not me. It's
Or
not
to the
me.
public.
Okay,
We're in
well, it's not- don't
negotiations.
just- it's not
We're
me,
in
it's the public.
negotiations to save the taxpayers' money.
Okay, that's very,
So I am
very
not going to
good.
divulge my
Okay, let me ask
negotiations
you
or
this
our
then.
negotiations.
Are you going to go to closing with Swan Cove if you do not have a deal with Mahopac
In
Bank?
real estate, you never know when you're going to close to the day after you closed.
Mike, I understand that, but you have a contract that says something. Are you going to?
I've seen contracts change over 40 years being in real
Mike,
estate. The
I'm not
answer-
trying to be adversarial. I'm asking you.
Answer the question, Bob.
You know what, I'll wait for the attorney. to come back.
Bob, the question's answered.
I'm going to ask the attorney if you don't mind.
I'm going to ask the attorney for you.
I thought this was a public comment session.
Do we have a closing set up for Swan Cove yet? We do? Oh, we do. Okay, good. Thank you. I
Okay.
didn't even know.
So if
When-
you don't,
The week of what?
March 19th, I think, is the.
March 17th?
No, the 19th.
The day we set, we picked the week of the 19th.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think we set the day of the 19th.
There hasn't been an exact date set, the day or date.
the week of the 19th.
So
Week of the
what I was asking was, because I read the contract in detail, which is online, it says you won't go to closing until you actually settle an agreement to buy the Mahopac Bank property.
And I will answer that.
I'm asking the attorney, so if you don't mind.
I-
And with that, I'm asking you, has the contract changed? That's all.
No.
No.
There were two specific contingencies that the town board added to the contract that was tendered to us, one of which dealt with the valuations of the property, and one of which dealt with the possibility of being in contract to purchase at least what is designated, commonly known as the chamber parcel. Those contingencies expired, I think the date was January 8th, and the town board has been in negotiations with Tompkins Mahopac Bank. They were satisfied that that the town could purchase the Swan Cove parcel and continue the negotiations and not prejudice their interests.
So that's good. That was my next
Yep.
question. So if the Swan Cove is going to be purchased, you purchase it,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no real rush at this point to buy the Mahopac or the Tompkins property. Why don't you just make sure you do a little more due diligence before you move forward with that? And I'm not going to go through I sent you the letter. I told you how I feel. I'm not going to go through it again. It gives you time, because Swan Cove really wasn't the issue with the flooding, the water coming in, and all the concerns. My issue with Swan Cove was I thought you overpaid, but that's needless to say. You decided to pay what you paid. That's a done deal. You guys are going to do that. You now have time to maybe resolve some of the other issues with the Tompkins Mahopac Bank, and maybe, because I saw your parking study here, maybe you can also go down and talk to Isaac and see if you can maybe keep Swan Cove, hopefully as a full park for the town, which was originally presented to the public as, and maybe consider moving the parking to downtown Mahopac and Isaac's Lakeside Auto And maybe you could save some money that way. I know Mike said he wanted to save some money. Maybe you could pick that up and for a few $100,000, fix it up and you
He
maybe
wants
could
$1
pick-
million for it.
Well, have you,
It's $1 million for it, and the ground underneath has issues. Anything else you want to know on that
he didn't, he didn't clean that ground underneath him up?
The entire Cherry Lane?
Cherry Lane, yeah.
The entire Cherry Lane from
Mike,
South
by the
Lake
way,
Boulevard.
I'm not being snippy
no,
with
no,
you or
I'm gonna-
nasty.
I
I'm talking like
tried-
a
I
gentleman,
tried to
but you're
tell
being a
you
little
this last
snippy with
time.
me. Don't
You're
be
not letting me
snippy. I'm
finish.
trying to be a gentleman. I
You're not letting me
appreciate if you do
finish.
the same thing.
Cherry Lane, okay, across the street, all the way across Route 6 to the entranceway to the lumberyard, and on Route 6 over there, has problem soil. It's well-known. It's been well-known for the last 30, 40 years. That's why there's filters or a water system on the water in that area. And
So you're aware of the study that Isaac did over there, the EAP did over there? Are you,
I am aware of every study. We've done our homework. We're going to look into getting rid of that oil tank, which I personally think is part of the problem. And I'm not going to put my hands on anything that has any possible type of DEC contaminants on it.
I'm gonna leave you with
I've
this.
been there before. I
I'm
know
gonna leave
what
you
it's
with this.
like.
I'm gonna agree with you on one thing, Mike. I think you should have the agenda up on Friday or Thursday. And I know I call you Ann sometimes. I know it's not her fault because last minute you're putting things on there, but I think you should put a tentative schedule up there so the public can have an idea Thursday or Friday what's going on. Because it is kind of rough on Monday or Tuesday to kind of look at the schedule. And again, the concerns about the Tompkins property, mine are still the same, and hopefully you take them a little serious and take a look at them before you move forward with that. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Have a
I
good
would
night.
hope that we get it for the right number, and we're working on it.
Well, hopefully they'll donate it to you.
And I'm quite sure that the website that you have out, the Facebook that you have out, will show a new picture Friday afternoon at about 3 o'clock of the bank parking lot. And
Why
it'll
would
help us
we-
with, help
why-
us with the negotiations.
So, Mike, then why don't you publicly thank me for helping you in negotiations?
I'm gonna
All
do
right.
it again
So
now.
send me a letter and buy me lunch one day. Have a good day, you guys.
I will.
So you want me to go out there Friday? You
Friday,
anticipating a storm?
Yeah.
Heavy rain.
But you
supposed
opened a
to be heavy
new,
rain.
new Facebook site, so.
If my cane is letting me walk, maybe I'll go over there. All right, Mike, have a nice day. You, town board, have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, all right, Bob, thanks. Have a good night. All right.
I don't know
Anybody
why he
else?
still doesn't use the concerned citizens of Carmel site.
Site, yeah, no. All right, is there anyone else here for the open forum, new business portion of the meeting? Come on up at this time. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tom Varley. I'm the Vice President of Infomark. We've been partnering with the town for over 20 years, operating your largest water and sewer districts in the town. I know our current contract is expiring soon, and the town is considering it. I just wanted to speak a little bit about it and a little bit about what we do and what we offer the town. We understand and respect the town's fiscal concerns, and we believe we structured a contract that meets those issues that we can provide quality service to you and still retain and attract the people that we need to staff the facility. A little bit about our company. We've been in business since 1983. In the U.S., we've operated over 200 and in the 200s on water systems and over 200 wastewater treatment systems in 19 states. We have about 1,200 employees. Our name has changed recently, but our management team, our employees, and more importantly, our commitment to service has not changed. The only difference that we have right now is now we're 100% U.S.-owned business. We are investing in our systems, specifically data management systems, so we can focus on our compliance issues and also updating our maintenance programs to the town. Compliance is a very big issue for us, and it's of the utmost importance. We have a technical support team that provides support to all of our projects, including the town of Carmel. It includes an internal audit program that we have to make sure that that every level of our organization is meeting the requirements that are required, and all that's provided at no cost to the town. That's a part of the company that we are and how we maintain our business. We have a very strong safety and training program, which we think is important not only for a company, but it's also important to our clients, because when people get hurt, it's not just companies that people go and look for lawsuits, but it's also for our clients that maintain, and we feel it's important that you're entrusting us with operating your facilities, and we're doing it in a responsible manager and in a safe manager. The policies that we have are also very important to us, and they include some random drug screenings, and we have a zero tolerance policy. You're entrusting us in your facilities. It's very important for us as far as your wastewater system for the environment and your water quality for your residents. This past year, we were lucky enough to hire a full-time project manager, Tom Brand, who's been a longtime resident of the area. He knows the community. He knows the local issues. He's worked very closely with your towns. He's been working with Rich and John. We're currently working and assisting with the asset management plans. We'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions, invite you down to the treatment facilities to take a look at it. And I just really want to just confirm our commitment to the service to the town, and we appreciate the confidence that you have shown us over these years. And I'd like to invite Tom up to speak a little bit personally. He's the guy on the front lines. He's the one that responds with our staff to water main breaks in the middle of the night, complaints or issues that any residents have. He addresses them really quickly. And I think I'd like Tom just to come up and speak, since he's the one that's on the front lines servicing these contracts for us. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tom.
Good evening. My name's Tom Brand. Good evening, Supervisor and the Board. Good evening. As Tom, our Vice President, reiterated our commitment to the town and the community. We're in a very highly regulated industry. Tom highlighted some of the key things about our zero drug tolerance policy for employees. There is challenges in the industry. It's changing ever rapidly. I'm the guy on the front lines. We're delivering on a daily basis your clean water. I answer a lot of the calls from brown water complaints. We look for solutions when and wherever possible. I'll say this at a little discomfort in front of my own vice president. My commitment to this town and my team goes well beyond the four corners of that contract. Okay? A lot of things are not written that I do because it's the right thing. And you know, I heard a lot of people talk a little bit about Mailpac and their historic ties. My family's been in this town for 5 generations. So I have a personal love for the county, the town, and I've known a lot of you for a long time, and you might know me. So with that being said, we know we're negotiating with you. We'd like the opportunity to continue to serve the town of Carmel. I recognize it might not say it in the contract or with Richard and John, but I actually work at your leisure every day. The contract is written. If you didn't like the service that we provide or the expertise, you're free to release us at any time. You know, I don't think that's the case, but I'm aware of that, and I never forget that. I walk in here very humble, and I feel that we've done a good job. And if you don't believe me, I will not mention any names, but you can talk to any department head in your community and ask them what the job that I'm doing for them. I'm confident in the response because I've made a good faith effort to do the right thing in the most cost-efficient way and be responsive to the residents' needs in this town. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
I'm glad you ended it with that sentence, because being a 5-generation person in the town, you understand our obligations to the taxpayers first.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else, new business, open forum, before we close and go into executive session for one item? How are you?
I'm good. How's everybody?
Good, thanks.
Jean Hopper from Hopac.
I just had a few questions. We're talking about all this development. I'm just looking at this for the first time as well. We had talked about a few months ago the properties along Route 6 that were started to be developed and kind of left by the wayside, weeds going through the cinder block type of development. We had what I call the rock quarry across from the old D'Agostino's nursery. I want to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen. Now, we're talking about new development, so let's talk about the building department or our zoning board, okay? I guess I, and along with other taxpayers and Mayapack residents, don't want that kind of stuff to happen again, where we start something, or a builder starts something, or a developer starts something, whatever permits they're filing, and just says, gee, I can't finish this, and walks away. I can mention them. There's, but starting down in Carmel, you have Route 52 and 301. There's that gas station back there. 5, 6, 7 years going on. I don't know what's happening there. Route 6 and is it Cooney Road across from Key Bank, they started doing something, and I know they're trying to sell that property. Next to Arturo's, you've got rubble with weeds, and the sign a little further down, coming 2012. I don't know what's coming in 2012. Does anybody know what's coming in 2012? Was there a plan? I mean, there's one thing to sell property and to keep the property. And yes, we've had this talk before, that people are allowed to buy property and keep that property. It's their property. If they want to play hopscotch on it, that's fine. But on Route 6, to excavate, blast into that wall, into that rock, and to walk away, I'm just concerned because now you're talking about lots of acres here, tons, I don't even know how many acres this all is, that we want to develop. And you're talking about comparing us to Danbury. I shop in Danbury all the time. So we need to not have that kind of, and I'm concerned because are these lots paid for? Are they on our tax map? Are they caught up on their taxes? Are we getting revenue from these? Are they abandoned? What's going on?
The vacant lots where construction began and then they ceased construction.
And there's one down.
To the best of my knowledge, the taxes, the property taxes are being paid by the property owner.
Okay.
That they're not in arrears. It's just, for whatever reason, that the site is dormant. They decided not to move forward with it, but I agree with you. They should never be left the way they are.
Okay, so how can we change that as a town? How can we say, you may decide not to move forward with this. You may just want to flatten it out, level all the trees, dig a pit, and walk away. How, as a town, can prevent that from happening in the future? Do our laws need to be changed with our building department, with our zoning board? What needs to change for that to not happen anymore?
A couple of things on that, Kenny.
Yeah.
A lot of things should be changed in the planning process. A lot of bonds should be strengthened. There was a lot of mistakes made in the last 20 years. Okay. And I know all the spots you're talking about on Route 6. In my day job for my children, for my daughters, I'm traveling to a lot of different towns and different town halls. And I picked up a bunch of really great rules that I'm going to bring to this board in the next 3 or 4 months. I had 12 new resolutions I wanted to do. One of them is I don't believe any person that is behind on their taxes should be allowed to go in front of the zoning board or planning board for anything unless their taxes are up to date. That's common sense. I had to pull a building permit in a neighboring town, and when I left the building, the building department told me when I left, I go, what's this on the bottoms? You have to stop at the tax receiver's office and get this stamped on the bottom of the page. I says, for what? He says, to make sure your taxes are up to date before I give you the permit. I said, that's great.
Right.
That's great. That's a no-brainer. That's just absolutely great. So that's one of the resolutions I'm going to bring up in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think that it ensures a little bit of an investment of the developer.
Absolutely.
That you're paid up, that you have a vested interest in that.
Your taxes should be paid up to date and current before you utilize any of the services of the town, zoning board, planning board, any board, even a building permit.
Right.
And,
I see things, you go down a rabbit hole. I try to look up some of these properties just to get the addresses, and then all of a sudden,
in all fairness, on one or two of those properties, they got hurt in the downturn.
I'm sorry?
one or two of those properties got seriously hurt in the downturn. And a couple of those other
Oh, you know,
properties took
I'm sure,
advantage of
yeah,
lapses in the planning board.
Of
with
course, things
bonds.
change, and, there's a crisis in someone's life, I understand that, but I think as a town, especially on Route 6,
There's too many of
yeah, you're talking about, coming in and going out and widening the road and all this. When I go to Danbury, when I go to Westchester, I don't see pits like that along their sides when I shop there. That's where I spend my money, absolutely. And I do agree with what was said before about encouraging the right kind of businesses, the businesses that we do shop in Danbury and Westchester for. I don't know if that's big box. Again, I'm not an expert on that as well. But, why are we going out of county? Why are we going out of town to shop? And those are the businesses we should be getting in here. Obviously, we don't have them. I just had two other things. I want to revisit the Legion Hall on Bucks Hollow. Do we have any idea of what's happening there? They have the Legion Hall with their restrooms?
Yeah, we've made some progress on that.
Okay.
I've met with the property owner and our highway superintendent.
Okay.
And members of the American Legion. We think that there is going to be a resolution to that, a solution for that in the coming months. I think.
Okay. We were hoping to get it before Christmas, but I guess that didn't happen, so maybe.
Well, as you know,
Fourth of July?
There was a Supreme Court action.
Okay.
By the American
Hearing
Legion
between
on the
the two
property
of them,
owner,
right.
and I really couldn't speak too much about that. But I
Okay.
can tell you that we've been very proactive in trying to get both sides together to get them to agree
Okay.
to,
Just trying to
solution
fight
for
for
that.
our veterans there.
Yeah, so I think something's going to happen with
Good.
that, and hopefully it'll get done, sometime in the spring.
Okay. And I just want to mention everything that's been in my mind as we drive around. Potholes. I'm sure that Mr. Simone is well aware of our pothole situation. I know it's been a rough winter, a lot of brine, a lot of salt, but you guys and the townspeople know what an obstacle course it is to drive around our roads. So I don't know if they have something on their upcoming calendar that they're really going to address our severe pothole situation on all our local roads.
Counties, on all of them. It's the weather we've had this winter.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but, before an accident occurs just from a pothole, just on Route 6. Who does Route 6? Do we do?
That's a state.
As a state road. Okay.
The county does the work for the state.
The county just
Well, I
does
can
the
email
property,
them. I have a
the
computer.
state does the other one.
Nothing stops me.
Your comment about shopping the type of stores in Danbury and on those major roads up there, there is no doubt in my mind that even with the sewer, that no major store will relocate on Route 6 in this town unless it is already guaranteed to that store that the two lanes
Become four.
and the intersections are fixed.
Yeah.
No commercial,
You're right.
personal, no national
Route 6 on a
chain
Saturday is a nightmare, as we well
commit
know. Yeah.
until that is done first.
Right.
So we could put the sewer there and we could build a hotel, but until that's done first, nothing else is going to come.
Right. No, I agree. I completely. Okay. Thanks. Have a
Okay,
good night.
thank you, Mrs. Hopper, appreciate it. Gene, thank you. Is there anyone else for new business? Open forum portion of the meeting? Mike, anything? No? Okay. Lack, did you have something? All right, good. That completes the town board meeting for this evening. We do have to go into executive session to complete one of the agenda items that we spoke of earlier, number 3. This is with the town engineers and the engineering consultant contractual for O&M water and sewer districts for the town of Carmel. So we're going to go back and begin those discussions again in executive session. I need a motion to go back into executive session. So moved. So moved by Councilman Lupinacci, seconded by Councilman Schneider. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Good night, everyone. Be well. We'll see you next week for a town board voting meeting.